Debbie, the researcher.
And I'm Judy, the athlete, and we're here to help you
Better your best. And we're here.
We're sitting here in the newly built lab that we're using on the BYP campus.
That's right. It's very exciting. It was kind of a long time coming. It's pretty basic, but we can do all the testing we want. We can build our equipment. We can
putt. We can shoot arrows.
We can shoot arrows in here. That's right.
What more could you ask for?
Conferences, you better believe it. So we're very excited. Probably using it tomorrow because there might be rain for one of our groups.
But for our session today, we're interested in telling you about the research that we recently completed. We've hinted at it, and now we're going to do a series, 4 or 5 sessions, sort of explaining what we found about it and what was interesting, what was critical, things like that. So Debbie, why don't you give them a little bit of a background on what we were looking for?
Okay. I mean, the goal of the research really was to determine if mindsets could influence performance, and to what degree and in what way. So we had 21 elite archers, the top U.S. archers and top in the world, who volunteered to participate, and we collected a variety of measures for them while we went through a variety of conditions.
Sure. So I think first and foremost, what the conditions I could just tell you about is we put them at 10 meters, which is fairly close for an archer, but we gave them conditions that they weren't used to shooting at. So we had a regular, really small target that the same colors that they're used to shooting at, and then we put gloves on them to take away their feel. And the first arrow on that was actually pretty interesting for most of them, but most adapted really, really well. Then we had a dot that it was actually a gun shooting target, and what was compelling about that one was that you could get the very center was 3 points, but if you went on the outside it was a -1. So putting that negative condition in adds a little bit of interest to it. The next thing we did was an Alka-Seltzer, which was really fun for everybody because when you hit an Alka-Seltzer it really blows up, and it's very exciting to see. We went from the Alka-Seltzer to an aspirin, which that was
very small.
That was a big change because an aspirin is very, very small. And then at the end we did a money condition, so they could earn $5 for every shot that they did, and we paid a lot of money.
Yeah, the last arrow was double or nothing, and so they could earn as much as $50, which was really good in our minds anyway.
It's lunch.
And most of them did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the conditions were designed in order to elicit different mindsets, and then they would shoot the arrow, and then after they would shoot it, they would tell us which mindset it was. And normal was one of the mindsets that obviously, and we collected a baseline of normal shots to compare everything with. And then zone was described as the arrow pretty much just flows through you. We had a will condition, that was determination, that's how it was defined. We had a help condition where it's more at the conscious level that you know you're influencing the shot, an attempt to get it in the middle. The save condition is more at the subconscious level, where you'll see the bow move usually after the shot because your subconscious came in there and saved it for you. And then the last one was blank, when the arrow took off without you. And we interviewed different archers to cover all the potential mindsets, and I think we got all of those. So it was fascinating to watch them go through it. Some of them didn't. Some of them never had a blank shot, so some of them didn't report zone shots, and so we went through afterwards, and we put all the zone shots together and averaged them, and etc. When we looked at the analyses, and then we compared it with just the results of each of the conditions, because they were such interesting conditions, and some of them really challenging.
But we should probably tell you what we measured.
Yes.
We started out, we measured arrow speed using a chronograph. We measured muscle speed using muscle flexion or activity using a EMG type device.
Yes, Empower.
We of course looked at, I can't even remember now, hold time, how long they held, which we measured from the point of settled anchor to release. We looked at their score, so their actual score, did they hit the item or however we were scoring that condition. And we looked at a subjective score of 1 to 10, just based totally on the quality of the shot that they felt.
So, and from the physiological side or psychophys side, we looked at brain activity, so we could look at total activity, amount of balance, amount of efficiency in the brain. We looked at heart rate pattern, acceleration, deceleration, which means different things in terms of focus of attention. And you covered the muscle activity. So it was of interest to see which correlated and which showed differentiation based on the conditions and mindsets.
So now that we've taken them through pretty much the research protocol, what was the biggest thing that you found that stood out in the analysis?
Well, the one that was fascinating, the conditions, let me start there. The conditions did not really differentiate scores, except the aspirin condition was very difficult, so that those scores were significantly lower. But otherwise, they were not making the difference. The difference was made more so with the mindsets. And the two mindsets that significantly improved performance were zone and will. And, you know, if we look then, start looking at some of the measures, you know, it's kind of as expected. Zone was lower activity in the brain because it's such a nice place to be, and it's not, you know, such an intense focus, and it is also high in efficiency. And the heart rate patterns fell right into line, mostly deceleration, right before they release. And with will, it was kind of the opposite. Total activity was high, and they both significantly improved performance.
And you could really sense the energy when Will was showing up, because you
Right.
could tell, like, I'm going to hit that thing. Whatever condition they were on, you could see them rise to the occasion, and almost always they said Will came up.
Right, I willed that one. And you know, we believe in any sport or performance activity that you can will it in, and most elite level athletes agree with that. But you know, some of them didn't report will, and I you know, it might be a little bit of, I've never thought of it before,
Sure.
that type of thing. But I'm always asking the players I know to practice willing it in. And well, how do I do that? You know, and it's like, well, it's determination. You know, missing is not an option here. And you get that mindset with pretty much high activity and determination. It may or may not always go exactly the way you want. It may not be the 10, or it may not, you know, drop in the hole or whatever, but you're still practicing the mindset, you know, because there can be other reasons it doesn't come out the way you want.
I can certainly remember a number of shots that I willed in. It's sort of an unforgettable experience where you're just like, this one, there's no option. This one's going in.
Right.
And, it's very strong.
Yeah, and some of those last shots for the money were willed in, and the ones that were willed in went in. I can tell you
That's
that
right.
from the results.
So that's our high level, just first results that we want to share with you. But going forward next week, tune in and we will start talking about some of the other correlations or similarities or things that we found that are generally good to talk about.